Okay, so on this first video, I want to talk about what is the Akashic Records. Hi, my name is Maria Serbus. I'm an Akashic Records intuitive reader, channeler, and soon to be Akashic Records healer. My mentor is Amy Robeson. She is another excellent resource on all things within the Akashic Records. I personally support female entrepreneurs and how to get out of the stress 24/7 hustle and grind by tapping into your own intuitive abilities and the Akashic Records. So, first, what are the Akashic Records? So, if you've heard of spirit guides, angels, connecting with your higher self, or things like that, you're on the right track. So, let me just clarify. First of all, we as humans, we are here on the 3D plane. That's like where matter is, where our human bodies exist, like it's the world around us. In what most of us experience and what we think of is the 3D. Now, when a soul passes, when we pass from this current incarnation, we can then cross over into the fourth plane of existence. Technically, all these planes are happening now, but most people aren't awake or connected to them. So when we think of people maybe who have just passed, they're likely in the 4D. So 4D and 5D. This is often going to be where our spirit guides, recently passed loved ones, angels can be. And some people might say, I'm connecting with my spirit guides to gain intuitive information and wisdom. So, oftentimes that's happening on the fourth and the fifth plane. This can be one way to tap into intuition and like inner wisdom. Now, the Akashic Records happens on the sixth plane of existence. It's where all of the laws are kept, like the law of attraction, the law of energy, but it's also this sacred space where everybody's energetic blueprints also are. So we each have our own Akashic record. Your individual Akashic record is like the all knowing everything about you in this lifetime, you in past lifetimes, you as a soul, you on all of possible timelines. It's just everything about you forward and backwards in time. And then there's like a collective Akashic records. So the Akashic Records is kind of the next level place that you can go to. And here is where the highest vibrational light beings reside, the highest masters, teachers, and loved ones, people who have, or soul light beings that have ascended past the fourth and fifth level and are now like guardians of the Akashic records. And so when you gain wisdom from the Akashic records, and when I tap into that for someone for a reading or for a group channeling, we are going up to these energetic, the sacred space of energetic blueprints. And I am specifically setting my intention to speak with these authentic, high vibrational light beings, ascended masters on the sixth plane, guardians of your Akashic records. So it's another way we can tap into your higher self and your high vibrational light being team. Now, many of us know stories, depending on how you were raised and what your faith system and beliefs were then or what they are now. Many of when we think our ascended masters are going to be like Jesus or Buddha. So those are like Mother Teresa. Those are some known names of people, high vibrational ascended masters or light beings. But also there's others, like not every high vibrational light being who is an ascended master and in the Akashic records has a special name that you've maybe heard of specifically. So that's the thing when we go into the Akashic records for guidance. Yes, technically you could call forward a certain specific high vibrational like light being, such as Archangel Raphael or Jesus, Buddha. Like technically you could get very specific and call one in. However, from how I learned how to tap into the Akashic Records from my mentor is that it's best to go in with your specific questions that you want guidance on in the now, in the 3D. And I connect with your collective guardians of your records, because typically it's the collective that's going to give us the best perspective, because it allows, if there is a certain light being that is like the quote unquote expert on a certain area in your life, by me just calling in the collective, it's going to give you the best possible answer, versus if I call in this specific one and it's quote unquote the wrong one. And so I just keep the intention open that to whatever light being or whomever in your collective steps forward, they'll deliver the message. Now, I also will say, since diving into the Akashic Records, one of my favorite places to be, and also why I knew that I wanted to continue to align my business with this, especially to support female entrepreneurs or solopreneurs who are feeling stuck and they just want some guidance and certainty. Um, I also have been able to tap in. I mean, this has been such a huge part of my own transformation, and I should talk about more of that on my podcast. But it has also helped me tap into more of my spiritual gifts and continue on my awakening journey. And so it is not uncommon. I don't promise it, and I don't currently offer solo one-off mediumship readings. I offer Akashic Records soul readings, Akashic Records intuitive readings, whatever you want to call them, where you go in and you ask a question. It's like you're direct dialing your high vibrational light team. But I will say, with my own mediumship ability is that when I am in someone's Akashic Records, or when I've been in my own Akashic Records, it is not uncommon that if there is someone that wants to come forward that has passed and they want to come forward with a message or some love for you, that can also happen. I don't intentionally call that in because I'm still learning how to tune into my own mediumship abilities. But that's the magic of when I open the door to your Akashic Records, a loved one can come through. And only with your permission, if you want to hear the message, will I share information about the person or soul that's coming through and the message or the image that they want me to share with you. The other thing about when I'm in the Akashic Records and I'm channeling, and again, kind of with the method that I learned through my mentor, Amy Robeson, once your records are open, I am just a conduit. I am a channeler. I maintain as best as possible. And I'll let you know what I mean by that. But I maintain that basically I'm just channeling what they're saying. I'm explicitly sharing what they're telling me. So I, either hear messages, no messages, can feel it. And I'm also very clear. Oh, I'm going to blank on the term, voyant. So they show me images that I share with you. So like, 99% of the time, I'm just direct channeling a message from your team. It's not me saying it, it's them. What I will say is, I always tell people when we're prepping for an Akashic Records reading, I will clarify. I typically put my hand up like this. And because your team is directing the session, I always ask their permission. Like if there's just something coming to me, an insight, a question, something that's coming to my mind that I'm kind of being prompted to share, I check with your guide team, and then I will say like, hey, this is me talking. I want to ask XYZ, or, oh, this is me talking. I want to share, like, I've had this experience, and after the call, we can talk a little bit more about that, or I can share more on that. So I always let you know, this is me here. I'm just giving this little tidbit, and then it's something we can always circle back to at the end if someone wants to know more from my perspective. But otherwise, the reading is not from my perspective. It's not even like my interpretation. It's purely just me direct channeling. And so, yes, there can be times where sometimes your light team, if you think about it, it's almost like, but not, you're giving me permission, of course, but it's almost like I'm eavesdropping in on a call. And by that, I mean, I'm like hearing what they want to share with you. I'm channeling that based on whatever questions you bring to your reading. But I'm also hearing it for the first time too. There's times where I don't know exactly what they're specifically talking about, but you will. And then there will be periods during your reading where they want me to pause and ask, like, do you have any questions? And if you do, then I'll go back and I'll gain clarity and I'll direct channel that. Um, but again, it's less about like me trying to interpret it. So if you have a question and then me sitting and trying to like figure it out, like, what do you think that meant? Or I am a channeler, I'm a conduit. So I'm just going to then go straight to your team and ask. And with that said, your team always knows what you need. And so I like 9 out of 10 people will leave and it's like just what they needed to hear. Every now and then I will do a reading where someone at the time they're just like maybe it's not clicking yet, but the beauty of the Akashic records, oftentimes after a reading there's like some integration that happens for the person. They get their own in like privately insight download, maybe it's something they dream, just like over the next day or two that reading can simmer with them, and that person oftentimes can have an easier time connecting, with their own intuition, and they'll continue to get little messages or things will just start to simmer and sit and integrate. And within a day or two, they'll be like, oh, that really hit for me. That made sense for me. So, and then I've kind of started this of what is the Akashic Records, and I have obviously teased also like given you an idea of what a reading is like. But with that said, with the method that I learned, it is very sacred and it's also very like with your permission. Thus, at the end of the reading, I always, with you still on the call, I close your Akashic records so that I no longer have access to them. That does not mean that you do not continue to have access. Like we all have the ability, one, to connect with our own intuition, to connect with our own spirit guides, to also like we all have the ability to get into our own Akashic records through intention setting and clearing, and that's a whole nother thing. But many of us just like don't know the how yet, but you can. I highly recommend if you're either someone where you want to find out more about booking a reading so you can experience it, absolutely head to mariaserbus.com, and under the work with me tab, you'll either see Akashic reading. Sometimes I have it as intuitive reading, soul reading, depending on when you're listening to this, but you can learn more about how to book a session with me. But also, if you are just hearing this, like me, I just was heard Akashic Records. I had a preview of a different type of Akashic Records readings, one that was more passive and indirect. It wasn't like face to face, like how I do mine now. It's all virtual, all face to face in real time. I'm with you. Anyways, all of that to say, I had heard about it and I knew I wanted to dive deeper, and I knew I really wanted to learn how to dive into my own. It's been a huge part of my practice. And so if you feel called to that, I personally do not teach a certification course on how to open your own Akashic records, but I would highly recommend going to amyrobeson.com. She also has an excellent YouTube channel and podcast to learn more about that. I do help and support solopreneurs, female entrepreneurs who are wanting to tap into and unlock their own intuition. And also, well, I'll talk about it a little bit more on the next video, but if you just need to clear blocks because there's a blockage to you accessing your own intuitive and psychic abilities, that's what I support women in. All right, let me know if you have questions.